Good morning, everyone. I welcome you in the virtual classroom of Managerial Economics. We are discussing the second part of our first unit, that is demand forecasting. Into that, we are discussing methods of demand forecasting. The methods are divided into three categories, that are survey methods, statistical methods, and other methods. Each method is having sub-method in detail. Like survey methods are having three methods in detail, which are experts opinion method, consumer survey method, and collective opinion method. Again, consumer survey method is having three methods in detail, which are complete enumeration, sample survey, and end use method. Out of these three methods, we have completed our first method, that is expert's opinion method, in our last lecture. According to this method, we are hiding experts from the market. We are taking opinion of expert, and according to the opinion of expert, we are producing our product. So from the opinion of expert, we are forecasting what will be the demand of our product in future. If there are small number of experts, then we will take simple average, or if there are more number of experts having different experience, then we are taking weighted average method. This is the small idea I have given. If you want to know in detail, you just refer our last lecture. We have also completed advantage and disadvantage of experts opinion method, and now we are moving towards consumer survey method. According to consumer survey method, the name itself suggests we are taking the survey of consumers, means we are directly asking consumers what will be their consumption in future. As we have seen in the diagram, consumer survey methods are again divided into three categories, and out of that three category, the first category is complete enumeration. The name itself suggests what a complete enumeration means. Complete means total. Enumeration means counting the numbers. When you are counting the total consumption of your total consumer, then it is known as complete enumeration method. If you want to have a better idea about complete enumeration, you can take the example of census calculation of India. You know how our population is counted every 10 years. Researchers are going home to home, door to door. They are collecting informations from each of the family, and the data is collected and tabulated. So that going home to home, door to door, that is known as complete enumeration. That we are using for calculation of population, and here we are using the same method just to know the consumption of our consumer. So according to complete enumeration, we will ask to our each consumer what will be their future consumption. Got the idea about complete enumeration? Now let us see what is written here. All the consumers of the product are contacted and asked to indicate their plans to purchasing the product in question for the forecast period. Simply means whatever the number of consumers are there, whether they are 1000 or 5000, each of the consumer will be contacted, sometimes physically, sometimes on mobile calls, and sometimes they are emailed also, and they are asked to indicate their plans for purchasing in a future period of time. We are directly asking them how many units they are going to purchase. If we are supposed to forecast for 1 month, then we will ask how much will be your consumption for 1 month. If we will forecast for 1 year, then we will ask how much will be your consumption for 1 year. So we need to ask our consumer regarding our forecasting period. Then secondly, it is written that the demand forecast for the total census consumption is obtained simply by adding the intended demand of consumer as df is equal to 1d1 plus 1d2 plus 1dn raised to 1dn, means n number of consumer. This formula is very simple. Df simply means demand forecasting. 1D1 means the demand of our first consumer, D2 means demand of our second consumer. If you want to have a numeric data, then you can follow like this. Suppose demand of our first consumer is 10 and demand of our second consumer is again 10 and demand of our third consumer is suppose 20. Now let us assume that we are having only 3 consumers. Then what will be our total demand for the future? That will be 40 units only. See, here it is written up to n. Now suppose we are having 1000 consumer, then you need to calculate the demand of 1000 customers simply by adding their demand for a future period. So 10 means 1D1 demand of our first consumer, again 10 means 1D2 means demand of our second consumer, and 20 means the demand of our third consumer. So just by adding the demand, we are getting our total demand forecasting for a future period of time. Now let us see the advantage of these methods. Result will be accurate, reliable and correct. Definitely if we are using this method, then result will be accurate because we are not missing a single consumer. We are considering the total consumer, so their answer regarding their own purchase will definitely be accurate. One must be knowing how much they will consume in a future period of time. Yes or no? At least one will be guaranteed about their own consumption. So just by adding the demand of each consumer, we will get accurate answer. Secondly, the result will be reliable. Reliable means the result is trustable. It will be correct one only. Definitely, we have done research first-handed. We have collected primary data. We are not dependent on a secondary data. Now you may have questioned what is primary data and what is secondary data that you have learned in your 11th standard. Primary data simply means when you yourself, your own, you are collecting details, then it is known as a primary data. In complete enumeration, we are directly approaching our consumer. There is no middleman in the process, so definitely data collected will be reliable one. There will be no misuse, there will be no mistakes, so the data will be reliable. And third one, it is correct. Yes, we have not miss any consumer, plus the statistics and the mathematics that we are using in this method, that is also too simple. Even an illiterate person can calculate, so there is no complexity in calculation, so there are no chances of incorrect answer. So ultimately we can say that result will be accurate, reliable and correct. Second advantage of this method is there is a less possibility of partiality in collecting data. The partiality simply means what? When the researcher will go to collect the data, he may do partiality. But this happens when the researcher will go for sample survey, that we will learn in detail when we will see the sample survey. But here you just remember that on the part of researcher, it is compulsory to contact every consumer, whereas in sample survey, all the customers are not contacted, only randomly selected consumers are contacted. So there is a chances of partiality. He may select his familiar one, his friend one, but in case of complete enumeration, as it is compulsory on the part of researcher to contact everyone, there is less or no chances of partiality in collection of data. Then thirdly, extensive knowledge of problem is possible. See, when we are contacting our consumer, definitely we are asking what will be their consumption for the future period of time, but it is not only question that we will ask. If we are contacting, it means we got a chance to communicate directly with our consumer. So we will have some detailed talk with our consumer, that whether they are liking our product or not, if they suggest any change in our product, what kind of shape or color they want in our product, do they expect any change in the price, or what the features they want we should add in our product. Likewise, the different opinions we can ask to our consumer, and we can improve our knowledge, and as a result we can improve our product as well. So extensive knowledge of problem is possible. You can again take the example of census calculation. When they are coming for the calculation of population, they are not merely asking how many members are there in your family. They are asking in detail, like age of your every family member, the education of your every family member, then earning, like likewise questions will be asked in the census population. So on that basis, the data that is collected, that will be useful for other purpose as well. Government can know what is the level of literacy in our population. Just by calculating census, they are knowing what is the literacy level. Likewise, when we will know the demand forecasting, we will also know the approach of our consumer towards our product. So if there is any chance, we can improve our product. So extensive knowledge of problem is possible when we are using complete enumeration. Then next one is useful when units have different characteristics. Definitely, sometimes what happens that when we want to calculate the demand, then each consumer is having different characteristics. Say for example, let us take three of the category A, category B, and category C. Category A consumers are having the demand of 5,000 per month. Category B is having demand 15,000 per month, and category C are having 20,000 per month. Now, in this case, if you will take sample survey, then just merely choosing only 1 or 2% from each of the category will not give you correct answer. See, this each of the category is having different characteristics. Category 1 is having the consumption of 5,000, category B is having consumption of 15,000, and category C is having consumption of 20,000. So in this case, to adopt complete enumeration is necessary, because you cannot choose sample survey, because each unit, each consumer's demand is different from each other. Then disadvantage of these methods are it requires a lot of time, energy, and money. Definitely, when you are going for the complete enumeration, definitely the units that you are reviewing, that you are surveying, will not be small in number, it will be large in number. So specifically, you need to hire researchers from the market. So you, as you are hiring the researchers, you need to pay salary to them, so it will increase your cost. It is increasing your energy, it is using your energy and money. Secondly, it will also use your time as well. When we are doing complete enumeration, let us take an example that we need to survey 1000 consumers. So contacting 1000 consumer, getting their answer, getting the data tabulated, then interpreting the result, it will take a lot of time and energy. So from that point of view, this method is disadvantageous. Then secondly, it is unscientific. You may have question in the mind that in advantage we have seen that this method is accurate, reliable, and correct, and in disadvantage we are saying that this method is unscientific. How this is possible? See, in the first disadvantage, it is written that it requires lot of time. See, sometimes what happens that you are passing too much time in doing survey. So when survey will be completed, result will be available to you, the total scenario may change. Take the example that you are the producer of LCD TV and you want to adopt consume complete enumeration survey. You have started doing complete enumeration, and now result is ready. Now when it is available to the manager, it may happen that LCD become out of date and it is replaced by LED in a market. So then what will be the use of the research, what will be the use of the data that we have collected? It will be totally vague, it will be totally useless. Whatever the time and whatever the energy we have spent behind doing research, it will all go in vain. So from that point of view, we can say that this method is unscientific. Why? Because when the result will be available, sometimes result becomes redundant, regardless, it will become useless. Then thirdly, it is written that it is applicable when universe is small. Definitely, if you are having small, your market size is small, when you are having small number of customers, then and then only you can apply complete enumeration. Otherwise, to use complete enumeration will be like a person who are having no mental faculties. You just imagine that suppose you are having the number of consumer which are running into 50 lakh or 1 crore, then what will be the time it will take, specifically what will be the energy and resources it will take, how many researchers will you hire, how many costs will you incur behind doing a research. Definitely it will increase your cost, and sometimes just because of doing your research you are running into losses. Why? Because the cost of research is more and your revenue is less. So you should apply this method when the number of customers are small. Otherwise what will happen, that this method will become tedious. We are asking the same question every time to every customer, then this method will become tedious, monotonous. Getting it? Then the second method under consumer survey is sample survey. This method again you have learned in your 11th standard, which is opposite from the complete enumeration. In complete enumeration, we are asking to each of the consumer regarding their future consumption, whereas in sample survey, we are choosing sample. Randomly, we are choosing some of the consumer, and that chosen consumer will be formed as a group, and that group is known as a sample. Now we are asking to this sample, means to this consumer of this sample, how many demand is there in the future period of time. So this will become our sample survey. So what is written here? Only a few potential consumers from the relevant markets are selected through an appropriate sampling method and are interviewed. Secondly, it is written that the survey may be conducted either through direct interview or mailed questionnaire to the sample consumers. See, suppose we are having total consumer which are 3 lakh. So definitely it is a difficult task to ask each of the consumer what is their future demand what is their future demand. So instead of asking this 3 lakh consumer, we can ask 30,000 consumer. Now, suppose this 30,000 consumers says that their demand for their future period of time is 30,000, means one per consumer they are consuming one product. Then applying the trinomial, 30,000 is to 30,000, 3 lakh will become 3 lakh. Now you can again apply the same thing. Suppose our total number of consumers are 1000 and we are choosing only 30 consumers. Now suppose 30 consumers says that their future consumption is 300 unit, means 30 consumers future consumption is 300. What is our total number of consumer? That is 1000. Then what will be the consumption of 1000 consumers? It will be 10,000 units because it is multiplied by 10. The relation between 30 and 300 is multiplied by 10. So on that basis we can assume that 1000 consumers demand will be 10,000. So what we have done, we have chosen a sample of 30 out of 1000. We have put trinomial from that and we got the answer, and that answer is known as our demand forecasting. Secondly, it is written that the survey may be conducted either through direct interview. So either we are directly contacting this 30 consumers or we are emailing our questionnaire to this 30 consumers. So that is all about consumer survey. Now let us see the advantages. The first advantage is this method is scientific. Definitely this method is scientific because it will not take too much time. The result will be available when it is needed, whenever the use of the same is there. Unlike complete enumeration, in which in disadvantage we have seen that this method is unscientific. So due to the limitation of complete enumeration, the another method is used, that is survey method. So this method is scientific. Secondly, it is written that it requires less time and energy. Yes, definitely in complete enumeration, we are asking each of the consumer, whereas in sample survey, we are asking only sample. We are choosing few of the consumers from the total consumer. So it will require less time and energy. Then thirdly, it is useful where the complete enumeration is not useful, that I have told in the first advantage that it is scientific. Due to limitation of complete enumeration, another method of demand forecasting is invented, that is sample survey. So in any situation wherever complete enumeration is not applicable, in all those situations sample survey can definitely be applicable. And again, this method is not tedious because we are not repeating the same process for a longer period of time, because we are repeating the process for a few consumers only. We are asking our question to few consumers only. Repetition will be less, so it will not be monotonous. Now let us see the disadvantages. First one, there is a possibility of misusing data. Yes, see, here it is written that survey may be conducted either through direct interview or mailed questionnaire. So when you are mailing your questionnaire, sometimes it may happen that the person who is responding may not be your consumer. He may be your customer, or sometimes he may not be at all to you. So there may be he must be playing with you, so there may be misusing of data. Or suppose you are directly interviewing them, then the researcher may misuse the data. Then second disadvantage is that wrong sample, wrong analysis. See, suppose we are having this total consumer which are having different characteristics. See, that we have seen in the complete enumeration, but again I am repeating. Suppose we are having three category 1 is category 1's consumption is 5,000, category 2's consumption is 10,000, and category C's consumption is 15,000. Now suppose you are choosing sample, each of the category is having 10 consumers, so we can assume that total number of consumer are 30. Just for the sake of simplicity, we are taking total consumer are 30 and we need to choose only 10 consumer as a sample. So it may happen that you may choose the consumer, all consumer who are falling in the A category, so their answer will be 5,000. Means we are totally neglecting the B category and C category. So we are only focusing on the consumer who are having the least demand. Sometimes it may happen that you are choosing the 10 consumers who are falling in the class category, means you are focusing on the consumer who is having the highest demand. So you should, it is better to choose that you should frame your sample. You should pick up three consumers from category A, you should pick up three consumers from category B, and you should pick up four consumers from category C. If you are framing sample like this, then your sample is a correct sample, otherwise your sample is a wrong. And on wrong sample, if you are doing sample survey and you are doing demand forecasting, then your total result will be failure only. Then thirdly, it is written that useful when every unit is having same characteristics. Definitely if we are having only one category, earlier I have seen that three categories are there, so there may be chances of framing wrong sample. But suppose we are having only one uh, category, then the result will be useful. There is no chances of framing wrong sample. So all in all, we can say that it is not useful when we are having different characteristics of population, different characteristics of our consumers. Then fourth disadvantage is result may not be perfectly correct. Definitely. See, here I have told you that sample survey, on the basis of sample survey, we are forecasting on the basis of trinomial. We are known to this three figure. 30 is our sample, 300 is their answer, and our total consumer are 1000. So our demand is 10,000 that we have predicted. So all we have done, that is on a trinomial. If this 30 unit is corrected, if our sample will be chosen correctly, then our trinomial's answer will be correct. Otherwise, there is a lot of chances of error. See this trinomial again, we cannot say that this 1000 consumers demand will be 10,000 only. It may be 8,000, it may be 12,000. We can get answer near to the reality. We cannot get answer which is perfect one. So result may not be perfectly correct in case of sample survey. So this is all about sample survey. Now we are moving towards the third method of consumer survey, that is consumers end use method. So this is something new. Complete enumeration and sample survey you have learned in your 11th standard, but this method is totally new to you. According to end use method, specifically this method is applicable to the intermediary goods. What goods can be termed as intermediary goods? Intermediary goods are those goods which are used in the production, which are not raw material and which are not your final goods, but which are helping in a production process to complete it. So intermediary goods, if you want to know the demand forecasting for the same, then we should use consumers end use method. So what is written here? This method focuses on forecasting of demand for intermediary goods. Intermediary goods, I have given you the definition, which are useful in the production process but which is not raw material and which is not a finished goods. Secondly, it is written that the demand for goods in different uses is taken into consideration. See, intermediary goods are not like that it is useful for one production process only. The same product can be useful for producing so many products. See, examples are given here. Milk is a commodity which can be used as an intermediary good for production of ice cream and other dairy products. See, again I am highlighting the milk is a product which can be used as a final product. Milk can be finally consumed, which is consumed every day by the total population. Yes or no? Secondly, milk is also an intermediary product if you want to produce ice cream. Definitely, it is also a intermediary product if you want to produce any dairy products. Sweet items are there. If you want to produce chocolate, then also milk is useful. So in the process of production of ice cream, dairy products and chocolate, milk will be used as a intermediary goods. Now suppose we want to predict the demand of milk, then we should know how much milk is used for ice cream and how much milk will be used for dairy products. So section wise, here it is written for different uses demand we can know, means for ice creams how much milk is used, for dairy product how much milk is used. So for different uses, products demand can be known if we are using end use method. Then cement may be used for construction houses, hotels, bridges, etc. So this is the second example of intermediary goods, cement, that is used in the construction of houses. So we can also predict how much cement is used for the building houses, for building bridges and for building hotels. So section wise demand can be known in consumer end use method. Now you may have questioned that how the method is applicable. See, suppose you want to apply the end use method, then first of all you must know the consumer's demand. After knowing consumer's demand, you should add producer's demand in it. So total of this demand will be known as your total domestic demand. Got the formula? Consumers demand plus producers demand. What do you mean by consumers demand? Simply means if you are selling milk, then how much milk is finally consumed. That will be known as consumers demand. See, every day we are household demand for milk is there, so that household demand for milk is known as a consumers demand. Now secondly, so hotels are there, then there's dairies are there, and there's sweet shops are there. If they are demanding milk, then it will be known as producers demand. So you need to add consumers demand plus producers demand. Totally it will be known as domestic demand. Out of domestic demand, you need to add, in domestic demand you need to add export, and out of export you need to deduct import. So if you are adding export means how much milk you need to sell to other countries and how much milk we are having supply from other countries. So that much will be known as a total demand you need to produce in your country. This is known as a total demand. I am repeating the formula again. First of all, you need to know the consumer's demand. Into consumers demand you should add producers demand. So consumers demand and producers demand collectively known as domestic demand. In domestic demand we need to add export and we need to deduct import, so we can have a total demand. By this way the end use method is conducted, end use survey is conducted. Generally this to know the export and imports data, to know the domestic demand and the total demand is not the area of interest for the single producer. So generally this method is used by government to know the sectoral demand for any product, to know the figure of export and to know the figure of import, to know the foreign currencies balance in our country. This method is applicable, is useful for government. Now let us see the advantage of this method. Accurate predictions are there. We can know the demand sector wise and use wise. Why accurate predictions? Because we are not all in all just guessing the demand of our product. See here what is written. Suppose we want to produce the we want to forecast the demand of milk, then we are categorizing the milk. How much milk is used for household consumption, how much milk is used for ice cream consumption, for production of ice cream, and how much milk is used for dairy products. So when you are categorizing the use of every product, the method becomes simple. This small categories data, to collect the small categories data it will be quite easy, but just to know the demand of milk all in all, then it will be very much difficult task. So that complexity is removed in this end use method, and due to removal of this complexity the result we will get will be accurate one. Then secondly, it provides sector-wise demand forecast for the different industries that we have seen in the introductory area. That suppose we are producing cement, then we can know how much cement is used for building houses, how much cement is used for building dams and bridges, etc. So sector-wise and use-wise demand forecasting is possible. Then thirdly, it is written that especially useful for producers good. Definitely this we can say that this is not the advantage but a limitation, but just to add one of the advantage we can add in the list that it is useful for the producers good, it cannot be used for the consumers good. Why? I have given you the formula that we should, first of all we need to predict consumers demand, then producers demand, then export and import. So if you are applying this to the consumer's good which is having a widespread use, what is a consumer's good? Which is sellable in a huge quantity. And what is producer's good? Which is sellable in a small quantity. What is if I give you the in detail definition of producer's good, then machinery can be considered as a producer's good, but the number of consumer of machinery will be less. So producer's good is always sold less in quantity. So just because less quantity, this method becomes easy. if you will apply this method to consumers good which is already sold in a large quantity, the people will become mental in applying end use method. The total capacity will be exhausted, and don't know what kind of research he can do for a consumer's good. So this method should be limited up to producers goods only. Now let us see the disadvantage of this method. It requires complex and diverse calculations. See, I have given you the simplest possible formula for the end use method, but when you will collect the data of export and import, definitely it is not a child's play. You need to do a very intense research for the same, and while doing the research we need to apply so many statistical formula, and we need to do the interpretation in the same way. So the total process will become too much complex and diverse calculations will be there. So it is not a task of illiterate person. Even it is not a cup of tea of a single producer. The government which is having very much time and energy and resources, only those government upper level management can do this, not the industry level and not any producers level. This method is not useful. Secondly, this method is costly. Why costly? Because when we are going for the research will be too much intense. It is having a very broad area, so many researchers we need to hire, so again their salary cost will increase. So this method will result into costlier affair for the organization. Then it is time consuming. Yes, because this method is complex and we need to collect the data of every sector and every use, it will be too much time consuming, and industry data may not be readily available. Definitely, suppose we want to forecast, we want to predict the data of milk for ice cream, then ice cream industry's data will not be readily available. You need to contact each ice cream producer, you need to contact each dairy producer. If the total dairies data will be available, total ice creams data will be available, then your task will become easy. But we cannot guarantee say that the industry's data will be available. It may happen you need to contact each of the ice cream producer, you need to contact each of the dairy producer. So in that way your process will be too much time consuming, industry data may not be readily available, and it is not the task. We should not do the research of each of the ice cream producer and dairy producer. So it is better to abandon this method and we should go for other method which may be complete enumeration or sample survey. So this is all about end use method, one of the complex method of demand forecasting. And now let us see the last method of consumer survey, that is collective opinion method. See, in this survey method, we talk about three methods, that is experts opinion and consumer survey and collective opinion. Collective opinion and experts opinion are very much similar, only the person contacted are different. Advantage and disadvantage again are similar. What we are doing in the experts opinion, in experts opinion we are experts' opinion are sought from the specialists in the field who are outside the organization, or the organization collects opinion from such specialists. Views of experts published in the newspaper and journal for the trade. All in all, we can say that in experts' opinion, we are hiring who are outsider of the organization. We are hiring experts who are market specialists, whereas in collective opinion we are taking the opinion of the expert who are residing inside the organization. So what is written here? asking the salesman for prediction. Here also we are taking opinion. In expert's opinion also we are taking opinion, but the only difference is in expert's opinion we are asking to outsider, whereas in collective opinion we are asking to insider. Salesman is definitely an insider. Why insider? Because it is your employee, your hired person whom you are paying salary regularly. So salesman can be considered as insider. If you want to know who are the other insider, then marketing managers are also there, public relation officer is also there. You can take opinion of this person because they are directly in the contact with the consumer and they can know what will be the demand for a future period of time. So taking opinion from the insiders may be salesmen, marketing managers and public relation officers. All we are doing in the collective opinion. Salesmen are the closer to the consumer. Thus, they can easily find out the reason for changing preferences. Sometimes what happens, why we are doing demand forecasting? Because we are finding that the demand of our product is decreasing. So we are having more interest to know why our product's demand is decreasing. So in that case, whether to do a detailed survey, you can ask your salesman as well, because they are regularly coming in the contact with consumer, they are having communication with the consumer. They can easily told you what are the changes going on in a market, or whether any change they have find in the taste and preferences of the consumer. So on that basis we can do demand forecasting based on several factors like product design, selling price and ad campaigns, means advertisement campaigns, etc. This demand are reviewed. See, sometimes what happen that you are changing your product's design and you are interested to know whether this design will be liked to the consumer or no. So instead of asking to consumer, better to ask your salesman, because your salesman will be readily available at your office gate. You can contact at any point of time. In case if you want to ask consumer, what will happen, you need to search them, it will be time consuming. And salesmen are just like a consumer only, they are directly in a contact with consumer, they know how consumer behaves. So by seeing your design they will say whether your product will be liked by consumer or not. Definitely. Then you may want to know that what will be the effect of selling price. Suppose you are thinking that you want to increase price, then what will be the repercussion, means what will be the reaction from consumer side, that also a salesman can easily told you. Then suppose you want to do an ad campaign, means you want to give any advertisement, then you want to know that which advertisement will be effective to your consumer. Sometimes what happens that a particular class of consumer are very much emotional, or sometimes a particular class of consumer are very much intellectual one. See, both of the category are quite different. If your consumer is emotional one, then they will always like the ad which is made on a emotional sentiment. Suppose your consumer are very much intellectual one, then they will always like your advertisement which is very much complex and which requires some mental faculties to think think hard. And after that, if it will be understood, then those kind of advertisement will be liked by your intellectual consumer. So what kind of advertisement we should give in the TV or in on any media, you if you want to know, then you can contact to your salesman or your insider just to know what will be the effect on our demand. So to know the demand for a change product design or a change selling price or a change ad campaign, you want to forecast your demand, you should simply ask to your salesman, marketing manager or a public relation officer. Here again, the process will be same as like the expert's opinion. If you are asking to a single salesman, then his answer will be supreme. If he is saying that your demand will increase, then you will increase your production. But suppose there are so many salesmen, take the example 50 salesmen are there, and definitely all salesmen's answer will not be same. In that case, you need to take the simple average, because there is a change in the answer of the salesman. Now suppose you are asking to the salesman and the marketing manager, Now, this salesman are considered as a lower cadre person and marketing manager will be considered as an upper cadre person. So in that case, you need to go for weighted average method. For marketing manager, you need to give higher weight, and for salesmen also you need to give lower weight. On that basis, by using weighted average method, you can forecast your demand. So this is the method having collective opinion. We are taking opinion, just we are taking the opinion of insiders. If there are less in number, we are taking simple average, or if they are more in number, we are taking weighted average of their answer. Now the advantage and disadvantage will be same as their experts opinion method. Why they are same? Because both the methods are same in taking opinion. The only difference is in experts opinion we are taking opinion of outsider, and in collective opinion we are taking opinion of insider. So this method is easy and speedy. Yes, why easy and speedy? Because insider can anytime can be contacted, and there is no any complexity in collection of data. So this method is easy and speedy. Estimates are nearly accurate, yes, because they are in contact with consumer. They can easily predict the behavior of consumer, so their prediction will be very much accurate. Is suitable where the past records of sales are not available. Yes, when you don't know your consumer or know any data of past is there, or when you want to launch any new product, then definitely this method will be helpful. The method is economical. The expense of seeking opinion and views of expert are much less than expenses of actual survey. Yes, definitely this method is very much economical, because to ask your salesman what will be the demand for the future, you will not pay them more salary. Your regular salary will be paid to the salesman, and you are just taking opinion. So for opinion you are not incurring any extra cost. So this method is not at all costly. You are not incurring a single penny for your demand forecasting. So this method is economical. Now, disadvantage of the collective opinion, that is estimate for market segment, cannot be possible. Sometimes it may happen that your salesman is having a knowledge of a particular region. He may not going for selling into another state. Suppose your salesman is having the knowledge of Gujarat consumer only, he is not knowing the sentiments of the Rajasthan, then definitely to that extent the answer will be wrong. The reliability of forecasting is always subjective, because forecasting is not based on facts. Definitely when you are asking to the human being, the human nature will come in a way. If a person is pessimistic, he will give the less answer, and if a person is optimistic, he will give a high answer. Means suppose your demand is 10,000, pessimist will say demand will be 8,000, and optimist will say demand will be 12,000. So it totally depends on the human's nature whether your salesman is pessimistic or optimistic. On that basis your answer will differ. So this is all about collective opinion. By that way we have completed the survey method of demand forecasting. Again I am saying that there are three methods, and in that three method we have completed survey method. So from next lecture onwards we will discuss statistical methods.